It's Friday, November 21st, 2025. Welcome to episode 181 of the Alameda Postcast, an audio service of the Alameda Post. I'm your host, Scott Bueller. In this edition of the Postcast, another interim city manager. Alameda PD busts an apparent imposter federal agent as the Trump administration sues California over the No Secret Police Act. The USS Hornet could be headed across the bay. The food bank opens their new facility and gets some help from folks in uniform. A new ferry hits the fleet, and lots to do this weekend. These stories and more on this edition of the Alameda Postcast. Our top story, as reported back in October, Alameda City Manager Jennifer Ott is headed back to Hayward to serve as their city manager, having served as their assistant city manager prior to assuming the manager's job here in Alameda. With the search now underway for Alameda's third city manager since 2022, City Council announced the upcoming appointment of Adam Pulitzer as Alameda's interim city manager at its December 2nd meeting. Mr. Pulitzer has worked in local government for nearly 35 years, including more than 13 years as the Sausalito city manager. Following his retirement from Sausalito, he served as interim city manager for Emeryville, Fairfax, and Clayton. He said, quote, "I am genuinely honored to serve as Alameda's interim city manager during this important transition. I thank the City Council for entrusting me with this responsibility and for the opportunity to lead such an extraordinary leadership team." End quote. Pulitzer is expected to begin work on December 5th. Full story at alamedapost.com/news. At Tuesday's regularly scheduled City Council meeting, Council approved the quick-build traffic calming improvements in the neighborhood around Gibbons Drive, including speed humps, roundabouts, new pedestrian crossings, and a paint-and-post bulb out, as well as collecting follow-up data to determine whether permanent installations are warranted. The Council delayed a decision about a pilot left turn restriction at Gibbons Drive. Council additionally delayed consideration of updates to the inclusionary housing ordinance and proposed Mylar balloon ordinance. The full story in Karen Jensen's article at alamedapost.com/news. An automated license plate reader alert led Alameda Police Department officers to a stolen vehicle near Marina Village. According to an APD Facebook post just after 11:30 a.m. on Tuesday, officers received an ALPR notification of a stolen vehicle being driven near the Marina Village Shopping Center. The vehicle and driver were quickly located. Driver subsequently arrested for possession of a stolen vehicle. The APD post went on to say, quote, "During a search of the vehicle, officers recovered a firearm, counterfeit government identification, drug paraphernalia, and additional evidence suggesting the driver may have been impersonating a federal agent." End quote. According to APD, the investigation remains active as officers work to determine the full extent of the suspect's actions. Full story at alamedapost.com/news. In something of a related story, just last week I reported that State Senator Jesse Arreguín had called for the immediate enforcement of SB 627, the No Secret Police Act that will become law in January. That's the bill that forbids law enforcement from wearing masks, except in very specialized situations. Also passed at that time, SB 805, the No Vigilantes Act. Arreguín's statement came in wake of the FBI itself informing ICE agents that they were to properly identify themselves, including foregoing the use of masks. Now, in a case of the right hand perhaps not knowing what the left hand is doing, the Trump administration is suing the state of California. The U.S. Department of Justice lawsuit filed Monday in federal court in L.A. contends that the laws violate the Constitution's Supremacy Clause by attempting to regulate the activities of federal officials. The LA Times quotes U.S. Attorney General Pamela Bondi as saying, quote, "California's anti-law enforcement policies discriminate against the federal government and are designed to create risk for our agents," end quote. The lawsuit states that federal agents will not comply with either law. Senator Arreguín, a co-author of SB 627, issued this statement in response, quote, "It's deeply concerning that the Trump administration is suing California for requiring precisely what the FBI is urging," end quote. Full story at alamedapost.com/news. Could the USS Hornet be headed across the bay? It might happen. The story broke when 97-year-old former California State Senator Quentin Kopp wrote the following in the 6th paragraph of his column in the Richmond Sunset News on November 6th. Quote, "There's good news for U.S. Navy acolytes. The USS Hornet, berthed at Pier 3, Alameda Point for years and suffering little attention to its Sea, Air, and Space Museum from visitors, will move to refurbish Pier 35 in San Francisco within 5 years, thanks to Sam LaMonica, its board chairman, and the Port of San Francisco." End quote. The article was quickly picked up by Alameda social media and subsequently San Francisco television outlets. In an interview with Channel 4 News, USS Hornet Museum Board Chairman Sam LaMonica said, quote, "To be able to relocate to somewhere on the waterfront of San Francisco would be a game changer for us in terms of visibility and attendance revenue," end quote. According to various reports, any move is at least 5 years away. Coincidentally, join me Sunday morning at 8 a.m. on KCSM HD2 for the Alameda Connection, when my guest will be Laura Fees, the executive director of the USS Hornet Museum. That interview was conducted prior to this story breaking. On Thursday the 13th, the Alameda Food Bank held the ribbon-cutting ceremony for their new facility at 677 West Ranger Avenue. With 25% more space, the new facility has actually been up and running for about a month before this official ceremony. I've toured the new digs, and they are impressive to say the least. With the holidays upon us, here's a great yardstick. The former location's freezer had space for 30 to 40 frozen turkeys. The new freezer, meanwhile, can hold a shipment of 916 birds. The ribbon cutting came one day after the end of the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. Executive Director Teal Harden noted that AFB had served 1,680 families the previous week, more than during the COVID-19 lockdowns. Vicki Nguyen has the story at alamedapost.com/news, along with pictures from Maurice Ramirez. Mark your calendars for Sunday, December 7th, when AFB's Teal Harden will be my guest on the Alameda Connection. The food bank had a few extra helping hands this past week. Last episode, I mentioned the annual Scouting for Food drive. Major thanks to all who stepped up. Alameda Scouts collected 18,477 pounds of food for the food bank during this year's drive, 1.5 tons more than last year. Alameda Food Bank warehouse manager Josh England said, quote, "This will go a long way toward replenishing supplies that were depleted by the recent shutdown and temporary suspension of SNAP benefits," end quote. The food bank also received $2,000 in monetary donations. Due to the purchasing power of the food bank, that translates to the ability to buy about $14,000 worth of food. Still time to donate to that fund? Find the donation link along with more photos from Maurice Ramirez at alamedapost.com/news. Scouting attire, not the only uniform present at the food bank. The Alameda Fire Department was out in force, helping the food bank prepare for the holidays. According to a social media post from Firefighters Local 689, members of APD showed up as well to lend a hand. Local 689 trustee Mike DeWent said, quote, "The warehouse manager said we completed over a month's worth of work in a little under 3 hours, and the only reason we were stopped was because we ran out of boxes," end quote. Story and pictures at alamedapost.com/news. Congratulations to the Alameda High boys water polo team, whose amazing season came to an end at the NCS Finals. The Hornets were 30-0 going into Saturday's championship game, but ran into a dynasty as Redwood pulled off an NCS Division I three-peat to punch their tickets to the NorCal Regionals by a score of 16-8. Some transportation news. San Francisco Bay Ferry celebrating the commissioning of Xolophus, the agency's newest high-speed passenger ferry and the 19th vessel in the SF Bay ferry fleet. The Xolophus is an EPA Tier 4 diesel-powered craft, an interim step as the fleet transitions to zero-emissions future. What is a Xolophus? Well, that's part of the scientific name for a California sea lion. The name was nominated by second grader Reed Marvin, who attends Maryland Avenue STEAM Academy in Livermore. Story and photo at alamedapost.com/news. If you're a user of AC Transit, you'll want to head to your cell phone's app store. AC Transit has a new version of their mobile app available. It was built from the ground up. Loaded it on my phone a couple of days ago. So far, so good. By the way, if you plan on getting around on Thanksgiving, AC Transit will be running on a Sunday schedule. However you get around, lots to do this weekend. As always, Amanda Laird rounding up the best of the bunch in her all-around Alameda column. Shop local and support LGBTQ+ artists and vendors tonight, Friday, at Queer Canvas Art Market and Walk at Dragon Rouge. Festivities begin at 7. The market is free to attend. Please note this event is for adults only. Friday and Sunday, 2 separate classes at Color Me Mine at South Shore, a clay gingerbread house, and a painting party. Since it's the 4th Saturday of the month, the Myers House open for tours. As I've said on numerous occasions, still one of the best hidden gems on the island. Saturday and Monday celebrate Native American Heritage Month with the Alameda Free Library as they host multiple events. Enjoy a drink, watch the sunset, and paint a masterpiece at the Romantic Sunset Paint and Sip on Sunday at Faction Brewing from 3 until 5. Details on all these events in the all-around Alameda column at alamedapost.com/alameda-life. More events at 94501.info. Don't forget, join me Sunday morning at 8 a.m. on KCSM HD2 for the Alameda Connection. You can live stream the show from the kcsm.org website. Find the Alameda Post on all the social media platforms and get the Postcast wherever you get your podcasts, or tell your smart device to play the Alameda Postcast podcast. I'm Scott Peeler. Let me be the first to wish you happy Thanksgiving. I'll be back in December with episode 182 of the Alameda Postcast.